دي ويا مولاي. عليكم السلام ورحمة الله. يا أبا عبد الله، يا ابن رسول الله، وابن أمير المؤمنين، وابن فاطمة الزهراء سيدتنا وسيدة نساء العالمين. غريب يا مظلوم كربلاء. أفلح من صلى على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. So brothers and sisters, there is something that is very spectacular. I've been just reading today about something called biohacking. And biohacking refers to the action of introducing gadgets to the human body so that it could function in a better way, stronger way, more efficient way. This includes subdermal chips, which are just electronic chips that are included under the skin, and they do not need to be charged because they are biochemical in the sense that the probes, the plus and minus anodes, they are connected to the bloodstream, and they actually gain all of the minerals and all of the electricity from the body itself so that it continues working. Other people augment body parts and include, for example, and I mean, it goes back in history when people would lose teeth, prosthetics, etc. But now it is more integrated into the human body to the extent that it could reach the brain. There was this, I think, paraplegic that spent his whole life bedridden, but now, alhamdulillah, by Allah's grace and by the use of these microchips that are included in the human body, he's able to communicate freely, and with, believe it or not, his mind, he's able to move a cursor on a monitor, on a computer, and then talk as he wills. So I was thinking that we could incorporate some of that, but not into our bodies, but rather into our souls. So essentially, wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah, I'm going to be talking today about how we could hack into our souls. The problem with our souls, it's an eternal problem. It is something that we are yet to understand, and we will never understand, as promised by the Quran. And it is something that is very mystical, but we know that it is existing. Because we see people, for example, in a vegetative state, they are living, they have their heart beating, blood circulating, they're breathing well. However, they're not able to move nor gain consciousness. So we relate consciousness to the soul itself directly. And if someone loses consciousness, there isn't anything that we could do to medically return it unless it happens on its own. We don't truly understand how that works. So, and we notice that there is a difference between a live body and a dead body, in the sense that the live body has all of its power and its emotional and psychological and spiritual powers. So tapping into this, tapping into the soul and trying to augment it in a way so that it suits us better is something that is very difficult. We don't know the rules of the playground. However, it is always possible. So I will be mentioning few problems that we are genuinely having unanimously as human beings and trying to fix them using, let's call it, spiritual hacking. So, wa alaikum salam. So now the first aspect is that we see that we are always inclined to rest rather than work and do. So how do we tend to our spirit? How do we augment it so that it will always be up to par with what we wish? We all wish many things, we have many projects, but we seldom do them all. We only do a small minority, and that is all that we could do. Not only because of time just hinders us so much? No, something else. There is the actual will at heart that is connected with the soul that we have. So, what are the ways that we could help our souls help us? The first thing that we could do is we could, if not alter the spirit, alter the outside atmosphere. Many studies have shown that if a person is going to leave his home, his zone of comfort, or even leave his room and go to an office, then productivity jumps, believe it or not, 60% more in individuals. Because the surroundings have changed. I don't feel that I'm inclined to rest. I'm in a place that is set for work. There is no place that I could easily rest, no bed. There isn't, for example, any gadgets that are going to take my focus away from my work. So only shifting places, that in itself has a blessing. And the Prophet ﷺ has said, جُعِلَتِ الْبَرَكَةُ لِأُمَّتِي فِي الْبُكُورِ, that the blessings have been written upon my nation if they wake up early. Waking up early is a bad translation. Bukur does not mean waking up early only, but rather it means waking up, getting ready, and leaving to the place of work early. And this, I'm sure all of us here have witnessed it. In the past, people would go and leave to work at 6 a.m. and they would return at 2 a.m. maximum. We didn't have any job that extended other than shifts to extend after that. So that in itself, the change of place makes a change in the demeanor. And there are many studies also to show that the setting, how clean it is, will also help us to work and actually do something that is productive. So if you are in a place that is just like a kindergarten classroom, filled with all colors and shapes and things, small things, big things here and there, it will take your focus eventually. Staying in a place that is monotone yet very restful for the eye, so no colors that are very intense, that could also help. So essentially what this tells us about the soul is that the soul is affected by, to an extent, what affects the body also. That is the first one. Secondly, we need to understand that the power that we have, the power of will, is also related to how rested we are. If we wake up, let's say, late and sleep, if we sleep late and wake up early or do something of the sort, not only will we be tired, but our willpower will depreciate. So the way that Muslims actually used to live, there weren't any lights. They had lanterns, but they are costly, so they didn't bother to switch them on. So after it got dark, that's the time in which they slept. That is the time that is, as I said last year, applicable with the circadian rhythm, the rhythm of sleep and waking up. And so they didn't even need an alarm clock. And indeed, they didn't have one at that time. And if you were saying, oh, but they had chickens and they had roosters, and roosters would actually wake them up, the fact is, roosters wake up very, very early. So if Adhan, for example, is at 5 a.m., roosters would wake up at 3 a.m. So they are of no use. They are actually desensitized to these noises. There is always ambient voices around them. But they were actually well rested, and that, especially in the first moments of the morning, is the time in which we have not only the most imaginability, you have creativity to the max at that time, but you also are more inclined to take decisions that will alter the course of your life. A study that was taken on, I think, 500 people to judge when they would actually buy and sell stocks. So I forgot what the program was called, but they gave students fake stocks, as in monetary stocks. And these stocks actually calibrate and change per the real stocks. And they wanted from them to just take 3 days, sleeping whenever, waking whenever, and taking decisions to when to buy and when to sell. So they found out that those that actually slept early and woke up early were the ones that were more prone to take decisions that are, firstly, more adventurous, secondly, more gaining, and in general, as a consensus, as a group, they were people that gained the most money out of it. They had their, logical instruments working to a crisp. everything going fine. So also being tired all of the time, which we all are, I believe, being tired all of the time hinders our spirit even from worship itself. And this is the month of worship. So if you see that, مثل ما يقولون بالكويت يعني واحد ما له خلق يعني, a person could not even bother. The reason most likely behind that is that we are actually exhausted and tired and burnt out. Burnout is very real. And if we are burnt out while at work, burnt out back at home, and in between, nothing great could come out of that. Remember, and we all remember this, when we were younger, we were more inclined to recite more Quran in Ramadan. We were more inclined to pray extra prayers. We were more inclined to do these great things. One of the reasons back then is that we have limited responsibilities, and because of that, we had all the time in day. So we would return from school, sleep, and then, you could recite a juz, you could recite 2 juz, you could, do whatever you want. And of course, how much responsibility, we don't have a lot of control over it, but we really do. However much busy you are, you still could control where you are studying, how you are studying, where you're working, how you're working, and you could opt for new employment or something otherwise, because Islam actually, it has these splendid ideas. Let me give you just one example, because this is not what I'm talking about today. We all have the presumption that Islam wants us to be rich, for example. If you look at the Islamic jurisprudence, it doesn't. However much you get wealthier, you're going to get more zakah, more khums on your money. Even if you want to invest it in something, you have to pay zakat on that also. The profit that you are getting, you have to pay zakat over it. And Islam makes it very favorable to spend your money on loved ones and those that are around you. The narrations say that 1 dirham that you spend upon family is better than 50 dirhams you spend on charity. So all of this shows us that Islam does not truly care how much money we get. It cares about the quality of life that we are leading. So everything, our priorities are all flipped up. This takes us to the third thing in which we could help our souls. We need to actually recalibrate our brains to be per what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has intended. So Allah wants us to focus on family, focus on worship, be there. Just to be frank, many days I feel like I'm not even here. I'm just functioning. I'm not living. And that is very wrong. Islam wants us to become emotional, wants us to become spiritual, wants us to become busy in all of the right ways. And the best way is to actually focus on the life you are leading, the life of your family, the life of your children, inshallah, may Allah grant us all. So this should be the central point of our life. If we put the center in gaining wealth, gaining more knowledge where it is not necessary, and yes, there are places in which knowledge is not necessary. Many of the degrees that you may see people take on is not because it is a prerequisite, it is something that is a prerequisite for their job, but rather something they want to do for themselves, and good for them. However, we must focus that even the narrations say, أَعُوذُ بِكَ مِنْ عِلْمٍ لَا يَنْفَعُ. There is a supplication that says, Oh Allah, I seek refuge to you from sciences that do me no benefit. Maybe a certain science is beneficial to person A, B, X, Z, but not you. So thinking of what we really truly want to do with life and how we want to live it, this will be the thing that determines how we tend to our spirit, because we usually put ourselves last. So it makes sense if you can't even focus on your life, if you're too busy to do anything that is fruitful other than the work, the job that you have, however good it may be, you will lose focus upon your soul. So recalibration of the priorities that will aid you to become a person that is in line with what Allah has intended for your soul, your everlasting soul, inshallah. Another thing regarding our soul is mentioned by Amir al-Mu'mineen salamullahi alayhi, is that we must also enjoy some of the pleasures of life. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when He created us, gave us longing towards the luxuries of life and the beauty of life and entertainment within life. And so within His narration that I have quoted here before, so I won't quote again, last year, it says that you need to segregate your day per 4 hours, one of them being entertainment for yourself. And entertainment, even though lofty it seems, does not refer only to just playing games and going outside with friends, etc. It also means doing some things that are fruitful, however enjoyable for you. Some people like to go and bake. Some people like to go and, I don't know, be a volunteer in an old people's house. Inshallah, may Allah protect all of our loved ones. But what we should do is not always be keen to finish whatever we have to do. Let's face the facts. Whatever we need to do always exceeds the age that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us. We always are under this mirage that we will actually go quicker in life, so that we will catch up with where we want to be in life, and we will get all of our aims, and we will achieve all of our goals, and then we will be finished with it. Whenever you finish a goal, another one will be in front of you. So we need to understand we can't do it all, we can't finish everything, but might as well do what we are doing in a steady pace, in a good pace, in a focused pace, and see where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guides us with all of this. So the fourth point is foregoing all of these very, very far dreams, or at least if not foregoing them, understanding that they may not be achievable. So all you have to do is strive, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one that gives you tawfiq. He's the one that gives you the blessing to either achieve it or not achieve it. Being under pressure of your goals that you already set, it's like setting up a mountain that is too high to climb, and the more you go, the more you feel asphyxiated, the more alone you feel. That shouldn't be the case. Going through your goals should be second nature, should be something that you love instead of something that you force yourself upon. So this concludes the fourth point. A fifth point regarding the soul and trying to edit the habits that we have so that it is beneficial to us is understanding how we work. Whenever we have something to do, the first thought that comes to our mind is, how far can I push it away until I really need to do it? Because that is the time that we have to be productive. We don't have a choice except to be productive. Like if you have a report that you need to send, for example, for your lecturer or for your teacher in school, and it's on the 5th. So by the 4th, you have to actually start writing it so that you'd be finished by the 5th. So how do we get rid of this? Because this is second nature to us all. As I said, we love to rest. And there is this very beautiful piece of poetry that says, النفس كالطفل إن تهمله شب على حب الرضاع وإن تفطمه ينفطم. That your soul is like a child. However much you make it accustomed to breastfeeding, it will never stop on its own. You need to stop it, and then it will stop automatically. You have the choice in your hand. So now, weaning ourselves from procrastination comes in 3 easy steps. The first step is to actually start for 5 minutes at least. You want to, for example, clean your room. Don't clean it all. Just decide to clean a certain table. That will take only 5 minutes. And believe you me, by the time you finish this, suddenly you find that your whole room is cleaned now, because you can't stop. You get this gratification. You get this dopamine bursts that actually push you through. You feel like things are changing and you feel very, very happy. In the narrations of Ahl al-Bayt, it says, غَسْلُ الثِّيَابِ نَشْرًا. Even washing your clothes will bring pleasure into your heart. And it does every single time, even though I hate doing it. But when I start doing it, I feel that it gives me rewards. So the first point is starting. If you have a report that is due after 2 weeks, at least make the first page, write your name, decide upon the idea that you're going to write about, just brainstorm for 20 minutes and leave it. And trust me that you will continue doing it either the same day or the day that will come, because the worst part of jumping into a cold pool is the jump itself. This anxiety that is building up because you're thinking, oh my God, it's so cold. How can I jump in? This is actually the worst part. So what I'm trying to do here in the first point is to actually remove this anxiety at all by starting. Even haphazardly, just start however much you know, however much you can, and then let it lead you on. So that is the first thing. The second thing is actually setting mini goals for ourselves, which include maybe an alarm. So again, the same example, if you have a report to hand in 2 weeks, the first day, of course, inshallah, you have started at least writing the first, trail of thought. Then you set an alarm for 2 days from today, and set it so that you will see if you have actually done something or not. It should be like the first warning for you. And just the thought, entertaining the thought that you will have someone reminding you, will nag you enough that you want to wake up 2 minutes before the alarm. You can't be bothered, just hearing it buzz while you're sleeping. It's the same thing here. So setting goals that someone would ask you about, even if that someone is your phone. I mean, our phone is the second devil. Let's use it for something good. So that's the second thing. The third thing that could also help us in avoiding procrastination is actually having this diagram. It's a very beautiful one. I've been using it for ages now, and I think I mentioned it last year, but this is also a place in which I could, again, for 1 minute, inshallah, make a box. So the box has 4 fields, naturally. So 2 across in the middle, 4 fields. So the first field is things that are easy and quick to do. The second field is things that are not easy but fast to do. The third one, things that are easy but they take a long time. And then things ultimately that are not easy, nor do they take a small amount of time, a large amount of time. So what this would mean, and this I've tried several times. I tried putting all of my chores in one, and it doesn't work. It works if you segregate per category. So you have one for work, one for school, one for study, one for household chores, for example. That worked best for me. And what that did is, and I wrote it on paper, not on my phone. So for ease of access, I could alter it at any time, and I could actually see the ticks growing on that paper. And I'm tricking myself into it. But this is what Shaitan does to us. He tricks us into things. Let's just take this example, which stems from one of the questions I have received today. Person X says that he usually entertains a good fast. He doesn't, break his fast. However, there are sometimes he gets some devilish thoughts, and based on those devilish thoughts, he chooses to watch some things that he really shouldn't, especially in Ramadan. And then after that, the third point is that he falls into sin, and it's like clockwork. When he starts at base 1, he goes to 2, and then ultimately to 3. So he was asking, what could I do to actually not go into this cycle? What can I do to fix myself in that sense? So the answer to that was, and it's a very difficult thing, because again, whenever we gain a habit, it's always hard to break. Consistency is difficult. Even Amir Mu'mineen Salamullahi alayh, he says that making your intentions sincere is easier than keeping them so. So if you could easily achieve the top, just like in a game, high score, but it's very difficult to retain it. Similarly, right here, he goes through these 3 steps one by one. So what I actually said is that when you go to base 1, directly think of base 3. Don't think that you may be able to miraculously skip base number 2 and 3 altogether and then just avoid it, and subhanallah, you will rid yourself from sin. So the answer to that is to be ready beforehand and to keep thinking about the result before even it happens. So similarly, in this situation, in trying to stick to this diagram that you make, you see the achievements happening on hand, and that will protect you. The devil tries to do the opposite. In this situation, what the devil does is he tells us, no, I won't lead you into big sin, just small sin, just something that is very minor, something that is very minute. So he scribbles upon the paper that is our mind. We don't actually see ourselves moving. We don't see ourselves achieving the basis towards sin. So seeing the achievements on hand, that will benefit us a lot into pushing us through and making us actually do our chores. And it is very tempting to stick to the first square, which is things that are easy and quick to do. But we could alternate, and subhanallah, we all have our different journeys. Some people, when they start doing things that are like this, khalas, they continue. They find the beauty in it that they don't even think of returning back to what they were before, which is not accounting for what they have to do. So this is the fifth point, I believe. Getting into the sixth point, into hacking our habits and mending and fixing our souls. The sixth thing about our souls is that usually we like to enjoy the fruit of what we do before we even do it. If you are going to do something, write a book, if you want to make a movie, if you want to go somewhere to study, we are very tempted to go and tell people that, oh, I'm going to do such and such. And we think innocently that we're doing this so that they will support us. We're not really doing it for that. We're doing it for the thought of it, for the gratification of it. Because we imagine ourselves achieving this great thing and we daydream. But at the end of the day, we keep daydreaming for like 5 years, 10 years, and then achieving nothing at all. So there is a narration that says, "Ta'inu ala umurikum aw ala qada' hawajikum bil kutman," 2 narrations, which means that take aid upon everything that you want to do by keeping it secret. And that may refer to something else, which is trying to, as much as possible, not expose yourself to those that will hinder you so that they wouldn't have a head start. However, we could apply the same thing right here. We need to avoid instant gratification that we give ourselves, this pat on the back that we do to ourselves, to just enjoy the thought, and rather let our journey be the enjoyment for us. If that is the case, we will always do things. Just yesterday, I think I mentioned something, and I didn't ponder upon it so much on Mimbar, but then after I left, I did. And it was that before yesterday, I can't remember. But I said that before, if we wanted to enjoy a soccer match, we need to go either walk or use the car and go there and physically enjoy it. If we want to get good food, the whole family will dress up, it's a night out, and we all go. But now everything is on hand. You could call Talabat, and from wherever he is, he could bring you the food that you want, especially in Ramadan. This is like one of the themes, food, unfortunately, and we'll be talking about food later on. So this made us feel the gratification before it is really due. And we are very accustomed for that. We are very accustomed to enjoying things before their time now. And to the extent that we don't even talk to each other as much. You talk with your friend on the phone, yeah, but when you meet them, actually, you're still busy on the phone and he's still busy on the phone. And the reason behind this, I said one of the reasons is that when you are talking, you cannot suddenly watch a video. You cannot be preoccupied with something else. You have to find something that is engaging for both parties so that they will enjoy this. This is why sometimes you go out with your friend, you enjoy your time so much. Sometimes you go out, you feel like, man, it's not that good, but alhamdulillah, I met him at least. This is because it is either a win or a fail. With your phone, it's always a win. It's always a win. If you want to watch history, it has history. If you want to watch comedy, it does. If you want to watch, horror, it does. Before, what we used to do is to actually go to houses that are being built and, play hide and seek in there and scare ourselves off as children. 12 years old, 10 years old. That was, I remember this pleasure until today. Synthetic pleasure is easy coming, easy going. I want you to remember now the best memory you have of doing something that is innocent and also at the same time it didn't cost much, it didn't take a lot of your energy, but you still remember it until this day. You'll see that they are all analog experiences, not actually experiences that you get electronically. So we are being pushed away from living an analog life, so we need to return to that. If we don't, then we're just zombies like anyone else. And I also promised that I will be leaving my phone separate hours. Maybe like 2 hours and 2 hours on, 2 hours off when it comes to the internet. And I started applying it before I go back to my country and meet my family, because it will be even more difficult with them. But what I have found is that I have the serenity to think, explore, and I'm actually doing more. I'm actually doing more in that time. So again, the soul needs to interact more deeply with the experiences to be more engaged. So if we take ourselves a step back from this very busy world and try to focus on experiences that are gratifying, even if they are slow, we'll do it anyways in the way that it was intended, that will help us a lot. The seventh thing and the final one, because time is upon us. Oh no, it isn't. There is actually time. So, food. Ahl al-Bayt alayhim salam say that many narrations to the power of this narration, for example, إذا جاءت البطنة ذهبت الفكرة. If you fill your tummy to the max, then you will have no thought in your mind. And that does happen. Let me give you an experiment to do. And I don't know if I suggested this here or not, but I suggest it in many places that I go to. If you want to go out with friends, you're going out at 7 or 8, try to eat your fill at 5 or 4. You'll feel like doing nothing. Even if it is enjoyable, you know you're going to enjoy your time, your stomach is full, you have no capacity to move. It's not only that the circulatory system channels all the blood to your stomach only. No, that's not all of it. What happens is that the body has a defense mechanism. If you are filled, then you're less likely to escape a saber tooth. So the body, the natural instincts that Allah has bestowed upon us is to stay at home until we are revived. Lions do it, and they are very powerful. But they do the same. They're very vulnerable when they're, and even snakes. I've seen a big snake that could not move for the life of it because she just ate a deer and she's lying in the middle of the road. And however much they hit it with sticks, she's just lying down and enjoying the massage. So the same thing is that food hinders the ability of the soul. Amir al-Mu'mineen several times have said, قُمْ عَنِ الطَّعَامُ وَأَنْتَ تَشْتَهِيهِ. Go away from food while you're still longing to it. And here I want to actually give an advice that I've applied, and it's very useful. I always have found myself to, within the days I've been here in Kuwait, to sleep between 7 and 8. So there's half an hour separating me after I wake up from this lecture, and I'm always groggy when I go down. So I wanted to do something about it. So what I did actually is, when breaking iftar, breaking fast and eating iftar, you know, you have those to have like dates or whatever, but then I drink a bottle of 2 of these, that's very cold water. Cold to an extent that doesn't hurt my, lymphatic system and does not do me any harm, but very cold. And this actually makes me not want to eat. A lot of the hunger that we feel is actually our dehydration. And sometimes do it. If you feel hungry, just have a cup of water. You'll feel like half of this hunger was taken. Not only because it pressurizes your stomach inside and gives you the sensation of fullness, but which is a natural way of having your stomach, instead of having your stomach cut. But what it will also do is subside this hunger that is stemming out of mere dehydration, and we are very dehydrated when we break our fast. And I saw that I eat less, I am lighter, and then what I do is I eat a plentiful sahur, and I skip any sort of like desserts in between them, because that will mess your system up. I just try to keep it for fatur and for sahur, other than liquids I could have at any time. So I've actually read a narration regarding this from our Imam Sadiq salamullahi alayhi 3 days ago, that says that if you would drink a cup of water on fatur, breaking your fast, and then eat only at sahur time, لأمكنك أن تصوم الدهر, you are able to sustain this fast for eternity. Which means you could maintain your calories, you could maintain your health, you could, and we've proven to ourselves time and time again that we could fit, a full day's meal in half an hour. So we're not to worry about that. But what I'm trying to say is that our inclination to overeating and eating very heavy foods at the start of the meal will make us very unspiritual, and we don't like to do anything in Ramadan. We don't want to go visit neighbors, go into these lectures, etc. So that's something to try. Going back to the 7th point, as I was saying, replenishing your body and filling it to the brim with food will give you no spiritual power. It will prevent you from being spiritual, and it will prevent you also from doing things that you need to do or you want to do. And I'm just thinking about the different narrations that are coming up to my mind regarding this, regarding the health. And one of the narrations on behalf of Amir al-Mu'mineen that says al-ma'idatu baytud da, that the stomach is the house of all ailments. You could fix everything per that narration with enough fast and with regulation of food and type of food that we are receiving all the time. So leading us to the 8th point regarding the soul and how we could inshallah hack it to alter our motives, alter our behavior to the best inshallah ta'ala, is to always remember that the soul is also like a tree, and a tree would need sustenance. We can't expect ourselves to go and pray Salatul Layl, the prayer of the night, if we can't even get ourselves to pray in the first of the time of the prayer. We can't expect ourselves to pray 20 rak'ahs, 40 rak'ahs, 50 rak'ahs in Laylatul Qadr if we can't bring ourselves to say Tasbihat al-Zahra after each prayer. So it is actually a step-by-step journey like anything else in the world. You can't do anything instantaneously. Everything has to be a process, and part of the process of being very spiritual is to actually have pit stops every now and then that help you to enjoy your religion and have and enjoy being close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So maybe let's say 5 things, just 5 things out of random. So if I decide to read only 1 page of Quran a day, let's set it at that forever. So I won't skip reading 1. I could read more, but at least I won't skip doing 1. I'll do every other day 2 rak'ah as gift to my dead relatives, for example, and as tribute to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And thirdly, for example, I'd fast 1 day out of each 2 weeks, or 1 day out of each month, other than Ramadan obviously. And 4, for example, let's set it as I will do something that is very great for another person. I'd look for someone that needs help. If not, I'd go and visit someone I didn't visit from a long time ago. And finally, for example, to always recite Alhamd and Qul Huwallahu Ahad, Qul A'udhu Birabbil Falaq, Qul A'udhu Birabbin Nas, the final 3, the first chapter of the Quran and the last 3, recite them before I sleep. That in itself would give you a base level, a maintenance level of spiritual calories so that your soul wouldn't go thin. The problem is, I've seen many bodybuilders, many bodybuilders, and my friends are getting freakishly strong, and I'm not, because I'm busy. However, I'm not seeing people that are actually becoming spiritual bodybuilders. We drive ourselves to the breaking point when we do our pull-ups and push-ups, but we don't drive ourselves to our breaking point when reciting dua, when reciting a lot of Quran. I want to see how much can I do in a night, for example. So we need to always also keep our spirit nourished, so that inshallah this spirit will take us very safely to the thereafter. So I would wish to say more points, but I know sometimes more is less, and this is more than enough inshallah, because the rudiment of this is that we need to actually acknowledge. So all of the points go back to acknowledging that you have a soul. It has different rules than your physical body. It needs maintenance. It needs taking care of. It needs that you get close to Allah always to maintain it. One of the ways that I always mention, and I remember for sure I mentioned it last time I was here, to always have this link with lectures regarding Islam. There are hundreds of things you could learn about Islam. You could learn about its history. You could learn jurisprudence. You could learn its theology. You could learn its financials. You could learn anything. And there are hundreds of thousands, if not millions, if not billions of videos, and very good videos they are. you could watch them while going, commuting, coming, or even if you are, again, someone that is a bodybuilder, you could use it in the gym. Because this will always remind you of your soul and remind you with the relationship you have with Allah and with Ahlul Bayt alayhim as-salam. And as a final thought, I'm just going to say the story. This story actually happened a few years ago, but I still reminisce upon it until this day because it's a very, very beautiful story. So there were two guys, and they actually wanted to see who could do the more spiritual pull-ups. So they said, now each day there are 51 rak'ah between what is obligatory and between what is mustahab. So the 16 rak'ah that are obligatory and the rest are all mustahab. So now, which is mentioned in the narration, alamat al-mu'min at-takhattum bil-yamin, wearing a ring on the signs of the believer, wearing a ring on the right hand, wal-jahr bi bismillah ar-rahman ar-rahim, saying bismillah ar-rahman ar-rahim out loud, and salat 51, the prayer of 51 rak'ah. It is not one prayer, rather prayers all around the day, and these are obligatory on the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So they decided we're going to do that. So they said, okay, we have 1 week, and you have your own tick boxes, I have mine. So the first one actually started heavy and strong. He went directly to the 30 kilogram dumbbells. So, he's bound to actually stall. So he started, and for 3 days he continued praying 51, 51, 51. So let's account it as 153, shall we? So he prayed 153. This other friend started step by step. So he started adding Fajr mustahab prayers and also Maghrib Isha mustahab prayers. In the other day he added 2 from the Dhuhr, 2 from the Asr, and until he was able to finish. So they met after a week, and the guy that started strong did not only stop doing the mustahab and recommended prayers, but in the other day he missed out the Fajr prayer and he wasn't able to pray Dhuhr and Asr in time because his muscles are still not retracted, the lactic acid building up. But spiritually, it's the same thing. تلك الأمثال نضربها للناس, and these are the examples we are setting to people. Like سنريهم آياتنا في الآفاق وفي أنفسهم. We will show you our verses in the universe and within yourselves. So imagine your soul as your other body. Are you tending to it? Are you helping it? This other person, alhamdulillah, by the 4th or 5th day, I believe, by the 5th day he continued, and he's still continuing, a lot of them, not all of them, until now. And by the end of the week, he prayed more in general, even though he started slow. So I think I should conclude with this, inshaAllah. وأفلح من صلى على محمد وآل محمد اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. So just for a couple of minutes, if anyone has a question, he could send it directly to Dr. Salah or to me. Anyways. Yeah, so this question is actually regarding fasting. So the person is going to have a root canal, and he's saying that I know for sure that I'm going to swallow some of the water. So how can I fast? So the answer very obviously is that you must do it at night, not in morning. However, if need be, there aren't any other appointments, you're very super busy and you can't do it, or you're feeling immense pain, then the best thing to do is actually to cross a distance of at least 44 kilometers, like 22 going and 22 going back. It's like half an hour round trip. And make sure that you actually break your fast when you exit. Let's say you live in a Shi'b. So Shi'b, the borders of Shi'b are very close. 2 kilometers away from the borders of Shi'b, you're allowed to start your break of fast if you're intending to go a distance before Dhuhr prayer. So go, and when you reach that distance, just eat some food or do something, and then go to the doctor's office. So I think that this is a better choice than if you are going to actually break the fast and have to do kaffara. So, and of course, you can do that whenever necessary, but it is not recommended to do. Another one, 1 second. Another one asking about the affairs of the souls. So, are the souls going to be reincarnated in a certain materialistic body? This is in Arabic. So, what this brother or sister is referring to is that we have many narrations that say that within the grave, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will take our good deeds and formulate them, incarnate them as people that will be our friends inside the grave, helping us, because we are alone there, so they are there to help us. So one narration says that Hajj will be behind you, prayer will be to your right, and fasting to your left. I forgot, zakat maybe next to your legs, on your feet. But that is the actual deeds. Our souls, when they're non-materialistic, they start like that, they end like that, and while they are tethered to our bodies, they get affected by the material world somehow, as I said, I've been saying now in this 45 minutes. So yes, if there is no other question, then أفلح من صلى على محمد وآل محمد.